Ready to learn how to be a millionaire?
Yes, sir.
Multi-millionaire? What's up, Bertram? How you doing, sir? Here's the concept. You can't get to double digits until you get to what?
Single digits.
Single digits. So I want to start off by explaining the reason I came up with this concept. This is actually a book that I'm writing called Single Digit Millionaire. And it started by me listening or observing or watching something that unfolded a couple years ago with a wrestler named Hulk Hogan. Y'all remember Hulk Hogan? The Hulk? Well, Hulk got himself into some trouble, and there was a magazine named Gawker magazine, which is basically like a National Enquirer, TMZ, and they were going to publicize all these negative things about Hulk Hogan. Okay? And he didn't want them to publicize these things about him, and he tried to stop them from publicizing these things about him. But based on the First Amendment, they felt like they can go out and say whatever they want to about people. So their whole business model is basically trying to tear successful people down. Does that make sense? And it's called Gawker. So they put out all these outlandish stories, and they really hurt people, right? And so Hulk Hogan was trying to stop this concept from happening, but he really couldn't stop it. It was going to cost a bunch of money to fight him in court. And Peter Thiel, who is a billionaire, he was one of the first investors in PayPal. Excuse me, he helped found PayPal, and he was one of the first investors in Facebook, is a billionaire. Gawker put out a negative article about Peter Thiel. And when they did, they really messed with the wrong person because he is a billionaire. So he tries to figure out, how do I get Gawker back? How do I stop these stories from coming out? He comes along and he says to Hulk Hogan, Hulk, you're just a single-digit millionaire. And because you're just a single-digit millionaire, you don't have enough money to protect yourself against Gawker. Because I'm a billionaire, I'm going to step in and fund the lawsuit for you to go after Gawker. And Thiel comes in, funds the lawsuit, spent $10 million on the lawsuit, and he wins a $40 million settlement against Gawker. And it puts Gawker completely out of business. Okay? Which made Peter Thiel very happy, right? Because their whole business model was just tearing people down. Their whole business model was taking successful people, finding something out about them, and then publishing it. So when he said that, Hulk, you're just a single-digit millionaire, that got me thinking. That one line intrigued me. He wasn't trying to be negative toward Hulk Hogan. Does that make sense? He wasn't trying to downgrade him. He wasn't trying to say, hey, you're not strong enough. He was just saying, Hulk, this is going to take more resources than what you have. And because of that, I'd like to help you with these resources. Now, here's what that got me thinking. And Brad Bertram's in the financial services industry. I would ask you, and I've asked as many financial services people as I could, in your market, how many people out of every 10 do you believe has a net worth between $1 and $10 million? Out of every 10. So you said 2 in your market. That's in Chattanooga, right? Would you say that's high?
I'd say it's pretty normal.
Okay, pretty normal. So he's saying 2. Tony, what do you think in your market?
In my market or my sphere?
I would say in your sphere.
Probably 2.
Okay, so 2 out of every 10. I would tell you in Rutherford County, where I live here, I'd say it's less than 1. In certain markets, it's higher than others. Does that make sense? So when you build a net worth between $1 and $10 million, what does that, if you have a net worth between $1 and $10 million, you are a single-digit millionaire. Everybody with me? Now, what does that tell me as a coach? If you pull this off, what does that tell me, Micah, about you? What are some things that I can deduct from knowing that?
That I'm good at what I'm doing.
Okay, that you figured something out, right? Here's what it tells me. You figured out how to sell something. You figured out how to build a business that gives you some excess cash. You figured out how to reinvest that cash into something that has grown your net worth. Everybody with me? So I look at a small business and I look at these numbers. Less than 4% of small businesses in America will ever break $1 million of revenue. Does that make sense? So when you start a small business, less than 4% will ever have over $1 million of sales. Okay? That's a very small number. This is why when you watch Shark Tank and they're looking at those businesses to invest in and they ask them what, Chad? What's your sales? Like they talk for a while and they're like, all right, I've heard enough. Tell me what your sales are. I love it when they say pre-revenue. What does that mean? That means we ain't made no money. We got a good idea, but we made no money. And they very seldom invest in a pre-revenue company. But it's shocking to me when they're not interested and there's an idea and they're not interested and they're like, I'm not interested at all. And then say, what's your sales? And they go, 2.8 million. And what do those sharks do? Now, all of a sudden, boom, now I'm interested. Because they know that if you've reached $1 million of revenue, you figured something out that 96% of people will never figure out. Does that make sense? There's going to be very little chance that you can become a single-digit millionaire if your business does not even produce $1 million of revenue. Okay? Because it's going to take you a long time. Even if you have a high-margin business where you keep 50% of it, you're going to have to at least make $2 million to have $1 million. Does that make sense? So for you, today what I want to show you is this concept is a really, really big concept because it's going to show you a formula that I have used. I think the last time I checked my net worth is about 5 million, between 5 and 6 million. And I'm telling you that not to brag, I'm telling you that because I was a high school basketball coach making $24,000 a year just 10 or 15 years ago. Does that make sense? I had no conversations about money between 20 and 30. My mother never had one conversation with me about money. I didn't know the difference between an asset and a liability. Like I literally at 31 years old when I started my business, I had no financial intelligence whatsoever. I literally didn't understand the concept of making money, purchasing assets. You understand? I didn't even think about it because I was a basketball coach. I loved doing what I did every day. I had no intention of doing, you understand what I'm saying? But as I started to build a business, I started to say, okay, I got to first build a sales machine to get my money up. Everybody agree with that? We're going to look at that today. How do you get paid more money for what you do? Because I would tell you there's probably somebody who would compensate you at a much higher clip than what you're getting compensated. Everybody with me? My moment when I figured that out was 25 years old when I wrote my first book and I went down to speak at Dell Computers because I had this book out and they paid me more in an hour than I made in a whole month. And I was working 80 hours a week, every week, 320 hours a month, and I was making less than $2,500. And then I go down to Dell and I speak on this little book. I have no idea this is going to happen, by the way. I didn't know they was going to pay me. I really didn't. I went down there to speak, not even knowing they were paying me. And then when they pulled a check out and paid me, I made more in an hour than I made in a month. And at that moment, I was like, dang, I've spent my whole life building this skill, and there are people who will pay me 10 times the amount of money for that skill than what I'm getting compensated. Does that make sense? What if I didn't have that revelation? So when I had that revelation, these people will pay me a lot more than these people will. I'm using the same skill I had over here. These people value it a lot more than these people do. It's not that these people didn't value it, they just didn't have the money to pay me any more money, right? So I had this big revelation. Oh, well, you may or may not have had this revelation yet. Like, what is my skill and who would pay me more money for it? So today I'm going to force you to get clear on this. What is your true skill? We're going to call that a primary hard skill. And then we're going to start asking, who are the blue marlins? Who are the blue marlins that want that skill versus the bluegills? Most of us sell one-to-one. I'm going to call that bluegills. You can fish in a local lake for bluegill, right? Or you can fish in the Gulf of Mexico for blue marlins. Is everybody with me? That's not how we think, though. We just think, let's go out and let's just find anybody who will pay us anything. Okay? Sometimes we need to step back and ask, who would write us the largest check for our skill set? And how do we get around these people? And how do we market to these people? And how do we consistently help these people? Okay? So, single-digit millionaire is a formula that I'm going to show you. And then once you get your net worth between $1 and $10 million, then we need to start talking about how do we get it to 10 million? And how do we get it to 20 million? And how do we get it to 30 million? And how do we continue to grow that? Fair enough? So today we're going to do some work. And we've got a formula we're going to work through. I'm going to walk you step by step through 8 steps that I've created. And I didn't create these steps on the front end. I created them looking back. And I call that codifying. What I've really done is codify. What did I do? What did I learn? How did I do it? How did I do this, right? Now, I'm going to show you a concept today, too, called intentional congruence. And intentional congruence is where all parts of your life feed all parts of your life. And here's an example. I love coaching people in settings like this. So what I do with a lot of my cash is I buy assets like this that I can use to make more money with my coaching business and enjoy those assets. I don't buy apartment complexes like some people do. I like purchasing unique properties that we can use and we can generate. And you say, well, how has this property helped us make money? I would tell you that this property probably helped us generate $250,000 this year, in the first 6 months of this year, just owning this property. And we don't even have it to the place where we could have it, where we're truly renting it out. We're doing weddings here. We're having corporate events. That's just from people coming here and getting excited and wanting to be more involved with us. Does that make sense? This is how I spend a lot of my money to drive up my net worth, is I buy income producing real estate, but I use it to entertain people and bring people together. You can decide how you want to spend your money. You may want to buy single family residential. You may want to put money in the market. You may want to buy cabins in Gatlinburg. You may want to buy lake houses. You may, whatever. But the first thing we got to do is what? We got to have the money. We got to have the money, okay? So let's look at the formula we're going to be going through today. Okay? This is a step-by-step formula we're going to be working through. Number one, we're going to get clear on what you really want. How do you want to build this business? How many of you believe that there's a lot of parts of your business right now that if you had to step back and say they're not really going the way I want them to go, right? As we're moving into 2020, I want you thinking, okay, I just did a strategy session yesterday with a coach that I have that coaches me on strategy. He's a pure strategist. I'm talking smart, Vanderbilt graduate, you know, just a brainiac, okay? And he forces me to think like, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? How much money do you want to make? What markets do you need to be in? And he asked me a lot of hard questions like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Right? But he was really saying is, Coach, in 2020, what do you want your business to be? What do you want to do 5 years from today? Do you want to speak? Do you want to coach? Do you want to write books? Do you want to build products? What do you want? What do you want? Okay? Because until you have this, you're just out there just kind of just doing it and doing it and doing it. You ever heard Michael Gerber talk about the E-Myth where he said you're just doing it and doing it and doing it. You don't even think about what you're doing, okay? Then we're going to move into how do we look back in your past. What if I told you, now listen to this statement, I'm paying you for your past. Your past helps me build my future. All of your past experiences, all of your past mentors, all of your past screw-ups, all of your past heartbreaks, like your past has helped you cultivate a skill set that helps me build my future. Does that make sense? You know what I learned by coaching those little girl basketball players for a decade at Riverdale High School? I learned how to truly engineer a person to perform at a higher level. I learned how to take a little shy little girl who came in and didn't want to look at anybody and didn't want to talk to anybody and was scared to death of everybody. I learned a model to get her when I was done with her 4 years later. She's like a little trained little killing machine. Her confidence was high. Her mojo was high. She believed in herself. Doing that for 10 years, you know what I learned? I learned how to deal with people. I learned how to deal with mamas and daddies that were irrational. Would come in there screaming and cussing and acting all a fool. I learned how to deal with assistant coaches. I learned how to go out into the market and build fans. I learned how to market and promote. I learned how to build something. You're paying me today to help you build your future. Now, where did all that come from? My past. Everybody see that? Your past helps me build my future. So I'm going to show you that much of the good stuff we need for you to make more money is actually in your past. So we got to kind of mine for it a little bit. You may not think of it like that. Most coaches tell you don't live in the past, don't go to the past. I would actually tell you the opposite. I don't want you to live there. I want you to go back there and grab it and pull it up here and bring it with you to something bigger. Okay? Then we're going to look at your finding your primary hard skill. A primary hard skill, somebody asked me the other day, could a soft skill be a hard skill? Yes. Like your primary hard skill may be you can connect to anybody, anywhere, anytime. Like you have a very high connectivity. People like you, right? They're open to you. I had a financial advisor once that I coached, and his primary hard skill was he had a unique ability of getting in close proximity to wealthy people. Now, I want you to think about this. His unique ability was getting himself in positions to be around the wealthiest people. Now, is that a unique ability, yes or no?
Definitely helps.
He got access. So he wanted to meet Mike Huckabee. So he figured out, where does Mike Huckabee go? Mike Huckabee had a show at that time on Fox. He aired that show at New York City. They had 50 or 60 people could get into that. He figured out how to get a seat. He figured out how to sit on the front row. He figured out how to walk up and meet Mike Huckabee. Then the next thing you know, he's going to Israel with Mike Huckabee. Because Mike Huckabee goes to Israel every year. Guess who goes with him? A bunch of rich people. They all go to Israel together. And he would go on that Israel trip with all those rich people, and he wouldn't go on there and try to sell them anything. He would just go and just talk to them and hang out, and they'd say, what do you do for a living? And he'd say, well, you know, I help, you know, wealthy people like yourself. What can wealthy people not have? A Roth or IRA or something they can't have. So they make too much money to have a Roth IRA. And he would say, I help wealthy people like you have a Roth IRA. And they'd say, what? Like, I didn't think we could have one of those. Like, I thought we make too much money. And he said, you know what? Over dinner, we'll talk about it, and I'll show you how we do it. That's all he'd say. And he would go on that trip to Israel and bring back hundreds of thousands of dollars of business just by hanging out with those people for a week. Now, who got him access to those people? Mike Huckabee. How did he get access to Mike Huckabee? He got on an airplane. He went and sat on the front row, right? But I'd go to a sporting event, and I'd be sitting up here watching a sporting event, and I'd look down. He'd be down there on the floor. He'd be looking up at me, waving at me. He'd be down there with all the wealthy people. Because what did they want? They wanted to show everybody they had a bunch of money. So they wanted to buy the most expensive seats. They didn't want to sit up here. They wanted to sit down on the floor. So I'd go to these games, and he'd sit down on the floor with all the wealthy people and wave up at the people that were up in the cheap seats. And I'm telling you, he had a primary hard skill of getting close to wealthy people. What is your primary hard skill? Mine's coaching, inner engineering people, developing the whole person. We're going to help you find this, because how many of you believe the people that earn the most income in our society have a primary hard skill? Okay, so think specialist, not generalist. Generalists make general money. Specialists make special money. So think heart surgeon versus general practitioner. You're a heart surgeon. You have a very special skill set. And I am 42 years old. I'll be 43 in a few weeks. I told my wife the other day, I'm getting real close to 50. Dang. like I'm all motivated now because I feel like I'm 50 years old. I am just now truly coming to an understanding of what my primary hard skill is. Like, what do I really do for people? How do I really help people? Does that make sense? Like, there's days I don't have good clarity on this. And then there's days like, okay, this is it. One of the things that I've been teaching Pray Drive this month, and that is the ability to find another gear, activate something in you, and I have come to believe that one of my primary hard skills is activating the Pray Drive in another person. Okay? Now, how many people out there in the world need that activated? How many companies would pay for somebody to come in and activate their people's Pray Drive? So I'm coming to believe that's one of the things I do for people is I help people flip that switch. They got all this potential inside of them. Boom. I help them come in and turn it on. So we're going to talk about yours. Then we got to package that skill. How many of you think you do a poor job of packaging your talent? I'd say everybody in this room, including me. So think of it this way. You don't have a talent problem. How many of you think you're just as good? If I lined you up with some of the best people in the world, you go, I'm just as good as they are. Right? People are asking me now because I'm doing things with all these like celebrity type people, and I'm hanging around like higher people. I'm going out to LA, and you know what I mean? And they're like, what are you figuring out going out? Here's what I figured out. They ain't a bit better than I am. Their skill set is no better than my skill set. And in some cases, my skill set is stronger than their skill set. So what's my real problem, Tony? It ain't talent, it's marketing. Packaging. Have you ever met a big-time person and you thought they were really, really good only to find out they were very average? But right? But their books and their packaging and their marketing, and they made you think. I see this a lot of times in real estate, Jason. A person markets himself into being really good, and then you do a real estate transaction with them and it's terrible. And you're like, what? Like, I thought you were the best. Like, you told me you were the best, and I did a deal with you, and it was terrible. Right? I mean, everybody seen that before? They marketed themselves. You know, we have this big mortgage producer in our program, Carrie Ann Sears. She does $150 million of mortgage production. And she would tell you her number one skill set is not mortgages, it's marketing. Yes. She's just a promotion fanatic. She just promotes better than everybody else does. She has more events than everybody else does. She's seen on Facebook more than everybody else does. Okay? So she's marketed that skill set. Okay? Now, we get over here. Once we started marketing, then we're going to get into bluegill versus blue marlins. We're going to get into bluegill versus blue marlins. Who are you trying to fish for? Because this is important to get your money up. Then we're going to get into expanding your network, exchange, building out your product suite. Then we're going to start building some excess cash. This is how I know we got a good business. At the end of the month, you got a bunch of cash left over. Everybody see that? You paid yourself, you paid your team, you've paid your taxes, and you still got a bunch of money left over. Now, we're going to take that money and do something with it after we have enough. Right? Like, well, I think you need 6 to 9 months of cash in case something happens to you. But I think once you build that 6 to 9 months of cash, you then need to decide, what am I going to reinvest this money in? I'm first going to tell you to reinvest it in you. Make your skill set stronger. Go learn the skills you need to be world class so people will pay you more money, right or wrong. Then reinvest it in your team, expansion of team, marketing, growth. Then you need to reinvest it in something that'll build your wealth. For me, that's been real estate primarily, okay? So then we're going to build a concept called intentional congruence, which is where we're going to end today, which is where all parts of your life feed all parts of your life. So if you love doing something, I'm going to show you how to love doing it, make money doing it, grow your business doing it. They call that intentional congruence, okay? So that's going to be a pretty good day, right or wrong? If I could get you through the end of the day like this, with all these things, will it be a good day, yes or no? I think it'd be a good day. All right, now let's get going. Number one, what do you want? I'm going to draw a circle up here, and at the intersection of these things is what I call finding your voice. Okay, so I want you on your piece of paper to draw this. I'm going to put passion or love. I'm going to put talent. I'm going to put conscience. And I'm going to put need. What do you love doing? What are you great at doing naturally? What does your conscience tell you should be doing? And where's their need in the market, i.e., where will they pay you? At the intersection of these four things is your voice. Now, when you see a person doing exactly what they were made to do, is it obvious to you that that's what they were made to do? Yes or no? Yep. When you go, see, I want you to think about this. The people who earn the most income in our society are entertainers, athletes, okay, actors. So how many of you have ever paid to go watch an entertainer perform? Okay, how many of you paid a good amount of money? Okay, you do realize that you are paying to watch them work. They're working. I was looking at Luke Combs' tickets at Bridgestone, and his tickets start at $250, go all the way up to $800, $900, $1,000. So here's the question. Why are the tickets so high to see Luke Combs? Because he's one of the hottest country people out there right now, right? And it's like his stock is high. What are we paying to watch him do? We're paying to watch him work. When you go watch an NFL football game on Sunday, they're working. They're so good at working that you pay to watch them work. Everybody with me? So I always ask this question. How good would you have to become for somebody to pay to watch you work? Now, Marty Grunder was a landscaper in Ohio. And old Marty built such a great landscaping company that other landscapers were consistently asking him, what are you doing? How are you doing it? How are you making all this money? How are you building this thing? So Marty said, tell you what, you can come up and spend the day with me for $1,500. And you can watch exactly what we do and how we do it. And little landscaping companies from all over the country would pay $1,500 and go on a little field trip just to watch them work. Does that make sense? Now, here's a problem with a lot of people. They haven't found this. So they're generalists. When I say at the intersection of these things, this is a very specific skill you have. Okay? Tom Cruise does his own stunts. That's why he charges $25 million per film. You got to decide, you got to figure out, this is what I love doing, this is what I'm great at doing, this is what I should be doing, and this is where the need in the market is, okay? Now, once I know this, if I tell you I love this part of coaching, I love coaching people. And I love coaching people in great settings like this. And I love owning the real estate of where I'm doing the coaching. But I don't love this, and I don't love this, and I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I don't like this. What I really need to do is build the company around my skill set. And I like to joke around with my team and say, Garth Brooks, does Garth Brooks drive the bus? Does he sell the tickets? Does he sell the merchandise? Does he pop the popcorn? Does he set the stage up? What does Garth Brooks do? He comes in and does the one thing that he's great at, which is sing. See, you have to figure out, this is the one, this is it. Like this is what I want. What I want to do is build a $10 million company. What I want to do is only speak 24 times per year. What I want to do is make $5 million without going 30 minutes down the road. What I want to do is this. Like you got to get clear on what I want. Because if not, you just keep doing it and doing it and doing it. So I was coached by a guy who always would ask this question. If you and I were sitting here 3 years from today and we were looking back over those 3 years, what would have to happen for you to feel incredible about your progress? And you'd say, I got offices in 6 different cities. We're making $10 million a year, right? I'm personally making $2 million. I get to go on vacation X number of times per year. Like I got this intentionally congruent life. Like that's what I want, right? That's the first step. Is that not the first step? This is what I want my business to do.
Most people don't know what they want.
Now, for those of you in real estate, because some of you in real estate, 5 years ago, Tommy Davidson, who's my agent, was number 42 in our market. Number 42, okay? 5 years later, he's number 6. A few weeks ago, he sold 23 houses in 1 week, him and his little team. And let me tell you something, this ain't like a powerhouse team. Like this is a little band of misfits. Like he would tell you this. Like this is a little band, like these people that come around, like where did this dude come from? So he's doing that much, and sometimes in a given month, he's making almost $100,000 a month, personally. Selling real estate in Rutherford County, where the average sale of a house is what, $279? Right? Now, the reason I'm telling you that is because when you're earning $100,000 a month, and you're bringing in, right, $1 million a year, let's just say, and that's not every month, that's an unusual month. Now he's going to have, he's just a regular old real estate agent that decided I'm going to have a little team of people, I'm going to go out and do this many, I'm going to dominate this space. Now when you're earning that kind of income and your living expenses are $10,000, you're going to have some excess money left over, of which you can turn around and go, now I'm going to start buying real estate. Now I'm going to start investing in the market. Now I'm going to start doing this. Does that make sense? When he was doing 45 deals a year, he didn't have enough money to turn around and reinvest it in anything. Everybody see that? So I want you to start right now, and I want to do this. I want you to draw up, if you and I were sitting here 3 years from today, so it's 2021, 2022, and we were looking back over those 3 years, what do you want? What do you want your business to do for you? Because this is the first step, okay? If I say I want to earn $1 million a year as a coach, like I said, I want to speak 24 times a year. We figured out something. We figured out that when I speak on any stage that I want to say has 200 to 400 people on it, it's worth $70,000 to me for 1 hour of speaking. Everybody see that? Okay? So if I want to make $2 million next year just speaking, I need to speak 24 times. The stages need to be 200 to 400 people. Some of those, what if I told you some of those I would do for free? If I can just get in front of those 400 people. Does that make sense? So you got to get in your brain. Tim may say, if I get 10 clients and each client is paying me this much money, this is what I love doing, I want to build my business around this and I want to make a bunch of money. So I don't have to speak 300 times. I just need to speak 24 times. What I do need to do is have my product suite real tight, be real good, and then have something to push them to that they can buy. Everybody with me? Okay, now let's take it one step further. Have something they can buy that doesn't require me. Have a product they can purchase that doesn't require me to be involved in it. Everybody with me? Now, I'm trying to get all of my clients to have a Lightspeed platform, and there's a way I can help you have a Lightspeed platform, which is the same online interactive platform I have. I paid $25,000 for it, but I have a way through Brad Lee to get it to you for $200 a month, or minimum of $200 a month. Now, why would you want a Lightspeed platform? Because now you got a product to sell. We're about to do this huge campaign for my Kids Academy, and we're going to heavy Facebook ads. We're going to try to sell my Kids Academy for $97. We're going to push as hard as we can to sell 10,000 of those. That's $970,000. And I don't have to talk to one kid or one parent. It's a product. So I got the Kids Academy. We heavy Facebook ads. We drive them to it, but we're not finished. Then we upsell them to something else, like a webinar series. That's $199. And that's selling a product versus a service. Everybody see that? Well, if all you have is a service to sell, how many of you are in heavy service businesses? Where it requires a lot of your time and energy and work, and you got to talk to people, and right, Lily? You got to love on people and follow up with people. Well, one thing you should think about is what's a product I could sell. See, Tommy Davidson, he's got this concept from Mama's house, because he moved in with his mom at 35 years old, by the way. 35 years old, he was so broke, he moved in with his own mama. So he's got this concept from Mama's house to the penthouse, how I went from 0 to 120 real estate deals a year. He could put that into an online product and sell it to real estate agents all over the country. Everybody see that? Most of us have service businesses, but we need products. We need products that don't require us to be there. Everybody with me? So take a few minutes and let's draw up. 3 years, what do you want your business to do? What do you want it to do? Okay? Based on this formula: passion, talent, conscience, need. Take a minute to work on that. All right. How many of you would say right now that your business could be redesigned? Okay, so think of it this way. A business is designed before there is a business. Okay? A poorly designed business always has to be redesigned at some point in the future. Everybody with me? So a lot of us are redesigning our businesses. What are we redesigning them around? This is what I love doing. This is what I'm good at doing. This is where we can make the most money. Everybody see that? So as I'm building my 2020 schedule, here's what I'm saying. I don't like doing this. I don't want to do this. I don't like doing this. And what I did is I called it from baby star to big star, is I went in and I put every bucket that I wanted to do in 2020. And I basically said, okay, I want to speak. I want to make $2 million speaking. $2 million in revenue. Then I asked myself, what has to happen? Who needs to be in charge of that? Well, one person on my team is in charge of getting me on those stages. Chelsea, she's right over there. Her job is to help me get on the biggest stages in the country, and there's a stage every day you can get on. There's no shortage of stages, okay? They could be paid, non-paid, because what do we know? Every stage could be worth $70,000. Now, we tested this last week when I was in Dallas speaking at those 2 conferences. I spoke at 2 conferences. There's probably 3 to 350 people, and Katie brought me the report. We made $80,000 for that, for those 2 days. Every time I go to Houston, it's worth $30,000 to $40,000 every time I go. Does that make sense? So what I'm trying to do, though, is over the last couple of years, I've spoken so much and have been on so many airplanes and I've been in so many places. Here's what I'm saying. I don't want to keep doing that. I don't want to speak 300 times. I want to speak 24 times. Everybody with me? So you got to start designing this. It's never going to happen if you don't do it. Then I said, then I start going through my checklist of things I want to do. Then let's take my online academy. How do we get to $250,000 a month in the online academy? How do we do this? Who needs to be in charge of this? What kind of marketing do we need to do? Then I look at e-commerce. How do we get our e-commerce going where we're selling more products? Then I start going through this whole thing and how do we do retreats? How do we do this, this, and this? Then I start inner engineering this thing to where I go, okay, this is how we're going to do this. That's never going to happen unless you take the time to say, what is it? What do you want? A business is designed before there is a business. A poorly designed business has to be redesigned. Okay? A poorly designed business has to be redesigned. So now you're redesigning your business to figure out where you're most profitable, but what you enjoy doing, right? Where you're most profitable. Now, you can decide how many family trips you want to take next year, how many days off you're going to have, what type of time system you want to use. Do you want to stay an extra day somewhere and play? Do you want to do this? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want your contributions to make? Now, when I'm talking about pray drive, your pray drive is your internal drive to go produce something. It's your internal drive to go get something. It's your internal drive to see something through. What I see is a lot of people know how to activate it, but they don't have the persistence to see it through. How does this activate your pray drive? If I told you you're going to get to do what you love doing every day, you're going to make a bunch of money doing it, you're going to have a lot of fun. Like when I woke up this morning, I was excited. I get to coach you who came on your own free will, right? I get to do it at my house. I don't have to get on an airplane. I can sleep in my bed tonight. I'm like, man, how do I do this more often? Right? Like, this is fun. Okay? Tomorrow I'm going to Miami. Miami's one of my favorite cities. Okay? And I'm going to speak for an hour, but I'm really going to just vacation for a couple of days. And the speaking is just a little part of it. Does that make sense? So when you think about building your life and building your business, how many of you were kind of brought up that your work is just a drudgery? It's just something you got to do. You got to fight through it, man. It's just, you got to suffer. You got to suffer through this to make some money, right? Because we got to put food on the table and feed. Like, I want to redesign what work. I actually believe work should be the distribution channel for your talents. I think you have God-given talents. You can actually, once you find those talents, you can then distribute those talents to the world. And when you distribute those talents to the world at a high level, guess what the world does? Pays you. Which is why Luke Combs can charge $800 for a ticket. Sell out Bridgestone. Okay? We got to get you in an area where you go, oh, this is it. This is it. Do you might have any questions about that? Why do you think most people never figure this out? Why do you think 6 out of 10 people are totally disengaged with their work? The statistics actually tell us 67% of people are getting up in the United States and going to jobs they got no heart for, no passion for. They're totally disengaged. They're daydreaming. They're moonlighting. They're messing around. They're waiting for Friday. Okay? Now, let me tell you the difference between high-performance people and low-performance people. Low-performance people spend their weekends escaping from their weeks in their lives. And I know because I did it for a period of my life. Drinking, in bars, messing around. High-performance people spend their weekends rejuvenating, getting better. Like, I think when you come in this week, you should be 10 times better than you were last week because of the way you spend your weekend. Does that make sense? You don't come in tired. You come in refreshed, restored. So until you get this right, do you really think you can produce a lot of money doing something that you just hate doing every day? It's going to be hard, isn't it? It's going to be hard. So you really got to figure this out is the first thing that you got to figure out, okay? Now, once we know this, so what I'm saying about pray drive, how does pray drive, how is it affected? It's affected by when you get up and do what you love doing every day in an environment you love doing it, man, it motivates you to want to do it some more. It's like, man, this is good. We're making money. We're having fun. Like, how's it getting better than this? This intentional congruence, right? So you got to think it's got to be redesigned, okay? Now, I do believe, let me put a disclaimer here. I do believe sometimes you got to suck the sour to get to the sweet. You got to suck the sour to get to the sweet. I am 11 years into my business. I wasn't coaching at a lodge 11 years ago. I was coaching at Dairy Queen. You know what I'm saying? So 11 years ago, I was speaking at anything I could speak at, Rotary clubs, Exchange Club. I call it the bad chicken circuit. Anywhere where they serve bad chicken, I was talking at, right? And I would go in and speak. I remember going to Jackson, Tennessee once, and I spoke to this Rotary Club. The average age of people in there was 77. And I literally stopped halfway through the presentation. I was so mad because they wouldn't participate with me. They just sat there and just kept eating. They kept their head down and ate the whole time I talked. And I finally said, look, are y'all dead or alive? I'm like, did you come for the chicken or did you come to hear me talk? Because I got something to say and I come all the way to Jackson to say it and y'all ain't even paying attention to me. Like I just unloaded on these 77-year-olds. And they're like, who is this dude? What? Right? I'm like, I came a long way to give this message. And y'all won't even get your head up and look at me. So I'm telling you this because you do have to suck the sour to get to the sweet. There's going to be periods of you just doing things you hate doing, guys. I'm not trying to tell you that it's that easy. I signed a contract yesterday on a real estate deal, and what he's saying there is because I signed that contract, I just made $100,000 on that agreement. That's what he's saying. Okay. Now, here's the deal. That contract I signed to get that deal was a risk. It was a risk on a unit in Nashville, on a new area that's being developed. Okay. Now, Now, where does all this start? And then we'll take a little break. Where does all this start? We bought a property in Gatlinburg. You've been big in the Gatlinburg properties. I bought one in Gatlinburg for $203. I sat on it for 4 years. We used it. Other people paid it down, and we sold it last week for $320. My check was $149,000. That makes sense? Now, where does that all start? It all starts by first doing what? We got to get in our strength zone. We got to earn more income. We got to store it away, and then we got to take advantage when opportunities come along, right? I was not thinking like this 11 years ago, guys. I want you to understand this. I was a little high school basketball coach, not even thinking. I bet I didn't have $7,500 in the bank. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I didn't even think about any of this stuff. Now I'm thinking about it. Like, how do we build this business and do these big things? And how do we go do this? And how do we do this? And we're going to win some and lose some. But I got to first get you in your strength zone, okay? So let's take a short break. I go about 45 minutes, and I take a break. I noticed that people need a break. What we're going to do when we come back is we're going to get into this concept of mining for gold. What I'm going to show you is your good stuff that we need to package is actually in your past. How do we go back and figure out from your past what your top 3 unique abilities are? What your top 3 skills are? Past mistakes, mentors, experiences, education. And how do we package that up? How do we package it up into a way we can sell it at a higher level? So we're not just selling houses or financial investments or roofing or how are we selling? We're not selling those things. Those are commodities. What you're selling is a very unique skill set. It's my skill set versus that person's skill set. Does that make sense? So you got to have clarity about this is my skill set. Okay? Now when I'm competing versus a guy like Cardone, how could I win over a guy like Cardone who's got more resources than me? How can I win? Brad, how do you think I could beat him?
Personal connection.
Personal connection. Here's what I say. Grant Cardone ever called you?
Nope.
Have you ever been on the phone with him? Let me let you know a little secret. He ain't never going to call you. Like, you can watch him online, but you're talking to me right now. You're going to have a personal connection to me. I'm going to be in your face. We're going to see each other eyeball to eyeball. Now, you tell me which one's more powerful. So I look for a place that I can beat a person. Does that make sense? And I'm looking for a skill set. And I'm looking for something. Here's what I say. Sometimes I'll say that person's not a coach. They're a celebrity. I'm a coach coaching real people every day. This is what I do for a living. What they're doing is selling a product. There's a big difference between selling a product and coaching people. So what I'm trying to get you to think of is when you're competing versus other people, you got to be able to say, based on my unique past and my unique experiences and my unique mentors and who I've studied under, I really have a very special skill set that really nobody in this market has got. Okay? And that's why you're coming to me. And when the better that skill set gets, the more money you're going to make. Because there's going to be so much demand for that. There's a demand for your skill, okay? So that's good. Let's take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and hit in the next section, okay? Good first session, guys.